Hello and welcome to episode 3 of Touch Some Grass podcast. My name is Grace Floyd and thank you so much for being here. On Touch Some Grass podcast, we talk about all things health, mindset, nutrition, Low-Tox, nervous system regulation, all the things that essentially help you come home to yourself, do it in a way that is true to you. I'm so excited to jump into today's episode about all things low-tox living when it comes to products we use with our beauty, skincare in our home, the effect that our product that we use have on our health, the ripple effect this has into so many other areas of our life, and just an easy way for you to minimize the exposure to chemicals essentially through your everyday products. It's probably one of my favorite things to talk about with people. If anyone ever asks about it, I absolutely love talking about this. It was like a pretty pivotal moment in my life and journey in health and everything when I started learning about this and unraveling so much. It just made sense with so many other things in my life at the time as well. And still today, I live by a lot of these things as well. So I'm super keen to jump in, and it fits perfectly with my sort of key theme of essentially coming home to yourself in a way that feels good to you, and blending the joys of the modern world with ancient wisdom. So let's jump in. Today's episode is all about low-tox living, endocrine disruptors in our beauty products, in the world around us, in the products we're using at home, and essentially controlling what we can control. Now, I know this topic when I have spoken about it with friends and other people. Sometimes people leave feeling a bit overwhelmed and not knowing where to start. And I want you to know that it just takes one choice, one product, one swap, and then you just start from there. It's not that deep. Just choose one thing to swap and move on from there. I just want to preface with that. Don't think you have to overhaul absolutely everything in your life all at once. It's just one thing at a time. So keep that in mind when you're listening to this. I also find that when you know a little bit more about the why behind the point of sort of going low tox and choosing different products for you in your home, it makes so much more sense. You have so much more motivation. Some of you are probably going to want to go home and do a total overhaul of everything in your house and all of your products, because finding out this information really changes the way you look at the products that you use, and even the beauty standards and all that sort of stuff. One big thing I want to talk about is greenwashing and the effects of marketing, the effects of influencer culture, like celebrity endorsement, these types of things, which are pretty normal in our society these days. However, you just need to be aware of it. And when you're aware of these things, and you can see it so much more clearly in the whole entire world, and just about being a little bit more savvy when you are choosing different products, not falling for trends, because that's all they are, they're trends. And yeah, choosing and learning about products that you can use that actually support your health rather than hinder it and help to enhance your natural beauty. And the amazing thing about choosing low tox products and sort of just going that way is that it doesn't mean you have to cut out absolutely everything, for one. And the second thing, as soon as you start making these changes to the products you are using, it starts to change something physically within you. I'm going to tell you the information, right? So you're going to have the awareness and knowledge there. Then you follow it up with the action. You start to choose one thing. Then a physiological response happens in your body with how your body better responds because it hasn't got the toxins or whatever. Your body's natural detoxifying system start to work better. Your endocrine system, we'll get into all that. And then it's just they're kind of like a tag team. They work together, if that makes sense. So one having the knowledge and then making the swap and the physiological change, they all kind of work together to keep you on this momentum of going, oh, this feels really good. I'm noticing good differences in my body. Why would I not want to keep going with it? Almost like if you're at the gym and you start seeing progress or making progress, or you're on a weight loss journey, or you're in a muscle growth phase, you're trying to get stronger, whatever, and you start to notice different changes, or you're into running and you start to notice you're getting a quicker split time, whatever, you start to notice the difference and you're like, oh my God, this is so worth it. And as much as you obviously can go into the data side of it when it comes to toxins and get different testing. However, I'm not going to talk about it, that I'm not personally knowledgeable in that area. It's not my thing, but you will notice and feel the shifts and see the shifts anyway. And it's all about coming home to you and enhancing your natural beauty. So that's essentially what today is going to be about. So I'll start with like, I guess, a bit of an introduction into where my journey with like choosing low tox products really began. So growing up, I've just always had sensitive skin kind of thing, having dealt with psoriasis for a very long time. Yeah, just always grown up choosing natural products. Um, and now in hindsight, the ones that like we and me and my mom, whatever, thought were natural, now in hindsight, I'm like, they were not natural. We were greenwashed, which is like brainwashing by companies to make you think something is natural or organic because of the marketing, because of the labels. But in actual fact, when you look at the ingredients, it is absolutely not natural or organic. And I can see now in hindsight that we were absolutely greenwashed into purchasing products, thinking certain products were something else when they simply weren't. And this is the reality of the industry, the beauty industry, the food industry, packages, labels, they can tell you one thing. But on the flip side, it's a totally different story. And I think I've used this example before. Like, if you were to see a packet of like um, Allen's Killer Pythons or something like that, and it says like no artificial colors and flavors, like, don't we all know by now that that is false? Like, it's a fucking lolly snake. Of course, it has to have artificial colors and flavors in it. It's a lolly. It's candy. Like, it's going to have that. I think we all have, if you're into health, you probably have that level of understanding, right? And it's the same thing when it applies to beauty products or products that you use in your home when it comes to cleaning and candles and that kind of thing. It might say natural on the front of it, and we just believe that. But in actual fact, that's not the case. So when you have this level of understanding on like a packet of lollies and you see no artificial colors and flavors, and then you see a benchtop spray and wipe that says natural eucalyptus scent, you will soon realize that, is that really the case? And you'll be a bit more savvy. You'll flip on the back, you'll look at the ingredients, and you'll be able to quickly identify whether that is truth or not. And I'll give you some brands as well that I recommend, or DIYs that I recommend that are very good alternatives as well. To give you a bit of a, I guess, head start to save you the the work of going through. Actually, may as well just say it now. Anything at like your generic supermarket, Woolies or Coles, it's all pretty shit. Like, I can't think of any product I would actually purchase from a normal supermarket when it comes to beauty or when it comes to cleaning products, apart from vinegar. And that's not even a cleaning product. Vinegar and bicarb soda, they are like two very easy, cheap, natural alternatives that you can make so many different things out of, use for so many different purposes, and they work a treat. So yeah, that's a couple of DIY things that I'll go into a little bit later. But yeah, in terms of actual like cleaning products, beauty products, I wouldn't literally go near any of them. Um Now, before I get into all of that, I said I would tell you the reason why. So, the thing is, when it comes to toxins in our world, we can only control what we can control, right? Um, and I say this to you now because, again, I don't want you to come in and be like, oh my God, like, where do I start? Just remember that you can choose what products you bring into your home. You can choose what goes into your shopping basket when you go shopping. You know what I mean? So, um, and we do spend a lot of time at home. The time that we're sleeping at home, like at least 8 hours. So that's a lot of time to absorb whatever is around us, whatever we're wrapped in. So I'm really going to try and like leave no stone unturned when it comes to looking at different products in our home that we use and whatnot. So chemicals that are found in things from hairspray to toothpaste to mouthwash to fly spray, benchtop spray, toilet cleaner, that are on, like a bed linen, all types of things. Sometimes they can be made with chemicals that essentially are known to, that are known, well, let's just get straight to the point. They're known carcinogenic, so they're known to be cancerous. They're known to have to be neurotoxic as well, so meaning they cross the blood-brain barrier, and literally affect the way your brain works. And this toxicity builds up over time as well. So like I've said before in the last episode, I think I said, yeah, I did. In the last episode, some of us will notice the effects of these types of things today. Some of us won't notice these effects until 20 years' time or something like that. But at the end of the day, they all build up over time and they all have an effect on our body. Some of these chemicals as well are known as forever chemicals, which essentially it means that because of the way they are made, they do not naturally break down in the environment. So whether that is in the natural environment outside in our waterways or it's within our own ecosystem inside of our body, these chemicals are forever chemicals. They actually do not break down. So the more we can be aware of this, the more we can prevent exposure to these types of chemicals, and introduce different ways to help our bodies detox and to help our bodies come back to homeostasis. So the way it affects our bodies is with our endocrine system. So a lot of these chemicals are known as endocrine disruptors. And what the endocrine system does, it's your body's natural detoxifying pathway. And different signs and symptoms can point towards your endocrine system being under stress, essentially, or not working effectively, which is also often very correlated to hormonal imbalances as well. And this can be shown in skin irritation, it can be shown in headaches, it can be shown in digestive problems, brain fog. It can be shown in having allergies. There's so many different symptoms that a lot of us face on a daily basis that maybe we're not aware a lot of the time that these can be connected to the things that we scrub our toilet with, So as soon as you start to, just bring this into awareness, you'll notice that a lot of these symptoms that you're just dealing with, you literally don't have to deal with them, and there's a pretty easy swap for it. So that's a little bit about the why. I guess getting more into the why in terms of like chronic disease, inflammation within the body, which is a pretty big topic that I speak about, is that these products can exacerbate the inflammation within our body. Now, when we're talking about chemicals in different products, I think it requires a little bit of a mindset shift as well as to the products you're using, the reason you're using them. And some pretty deep like conditioning around the reason that we use different products or the way things are. Like, I think so often people will say like, oh, well, I've done this since I was a kid, or my mum used this, or whatever, and they turned out fine. Like, are they really fine? Or are you really fine? Like, not saying that too harsh. I'm not trying to come across as a bitch by saying that, but just to talk about the reality of these products and what is fine. It's just that you haven't connected the dots between what's going on and how these products could literally have a pretty big role to play with the symptoms that you're facing today. And I know this topic is very important, especially at this age, I think, as well, because a lot of us are, I guess, being in your 20s and your mid-20s, a lot of us are potentially thinking about having kids, or we've already had kids, or that's something that we want in our pretty near future. And it's part of a deconditioning for you right now, whether you have kids or not, or you're thinking about it, whatever, to start to do these things for yourself now, because the choices that you make now is going to affect the person that you are for your kids. in terms of the beliefs that you hold. And that's without even going into the conversation around the effects that these chemicals can have when it comes to fertility, when it comes to problems that children are facing. And I think it's really important to highlight this, not to scare you, but to educate you on the choices you are making and how the choices that you're making today can potentially impact your children in the future. And this is a really big motive for me personally because I guess, like, for example, every generation learns from the last, right? We all learn and the idea is that we improve with each generation. And like, I look at my family, for example, and look at the fact that uh, I wasn't going to go there, but I think we're going there. When I was born and got all the vaccinations, as you do, when I was a year old, sorry, not when I was born, get the 1 year, but yeah, got all the things. But prior to this instance occurring, like, there was no reason for my parents to necessarily choose natural or use natural products or anything like that. They had a pretty normal upbringing. They definitely weren't, hippie or anything like that. Um, so yeah, anyway, I guess when I was a year old, I got my 1 year old vaccinations, and that night, the next day, I had all these rashes on my skin. And how do you go, oh, that vaccination had nothing to do with that reaction? You literally can't. So I think unless something pretty drastic happens to you or someone close to you, sometimes these changes I'm talking about will not occur to you and will not occur to you. Don't have a big enough why, because you haven't seen it firsthand or you haven't experienced it firsthand. Some of you have and some of you have not, and there's no good or bad or right or wrong. However, I'm so grateful for, I guess, me experiencing that situation, and it definitely changed the way that my parents view health and live their life. And when I look at, I guess, my family, my mom, my dad, my brothers, and I, compared to our grandparents on both sides of the family, and aunties and uncles, and all that sort of stuff, our family is definitely the the outliers in this scenario. Um, so anyway, coming back to, yeah, having this vaccine injury, that's simply what it was. And um, was that admitted by any doctors or anything at the time? No. But the more, I guess, research and everything that my mum did at the time and dad did at the time, the more sense it made. And growing up now, the research that I've now done and the different things that I've learned in my studies and everything as well, and then, in, I guess, structured study, but then in just personal study for personal interest, um, relating back to health, it's like vaccine injuries are very real. Um, and like I said before, that was an instant reaction. That was my body was showing an instant reaction to that vaccine. Now, I never got after that 1 year old, I have never been vaccinated since then. So throughout school, I didn't get any vaccinations. Of course, when all the COVID stuff happened, I did not get a vaccination with any of that either. And I guess in saying that, I look at a lot of women my age and who have had all the vaccinations growing up. There's one specific one that was meant to be for like ovarian cancer or something like that. That was a pretty big like hype, I'm pretty sure at the time. Maybe I was in year 9 or something like that. Um, and so I just remember so many people being so shocked that I wasn't getting this vaccination. Um, People saying things to me and my parents or what have you. And I guess where I'm getting the point I'm trying to make from this is, as much as a lot of people growing up through school may not have had a reaction, and especially girls during high school, to these vaccinations, what are they dealing with today? so many fucking women are now dealing with issues with endometriosis, PCOS. It is like every second girl you speak to, I swear. So I can't help but think, how this isn't random. Um, and I say all this with so much love, and I want you to realize that I'm saying this because I want you to be able to make better choices that help your symptoms and help your condition today, and to be able to change the way you think about health, change the way you think about what is the norm, and question everything, so you don't only help yourself but you help your future children. Because we're paving the way for the future, we're paving the way for what is going on today. And the more understanding and the more education you have around these kinds of topics, even though, to be honest, speaking about this makes me so nervous, because I I guess in the last couple of years have definitely experienced most backlash when it comes to speaking up about vaccinations. Um and yeah, I was, like I said, I wasn't even going to go there today, but I just can't help it, because when we're talking about endocrine disruptors, when we're talking about toxins, when we're talking about chemicals that are affecting our body, it just goes hand in hand, and it is a very big contributor to our health, or lack thereof health. So as much as we cannot change what has happened in the past, we can change our actions we make today. We can change the choices we make today and tomorrow, and so on. And it can take some deconditioning with your mind and the way you look at things, because if you haven't listened to the first episode, probably go and listen to that, because that is going to introduce the idea around being curious and being a critical thinker and all that kind of thing, because we cannot just take it all verbatim and believe it all. Like, you have to be curious, you have to question things. Even when it comes to, or even especially when it comes to um, medication or treatment options, so many people blindly trust and take it. And I just urge you to do your own research, because everyone's going to have different experiences. Um, don't just look at where if you're doing your own research, look at where the research papers are funded. If you're, looking on PubMD or Google Scholar, like doing actual research on scientific studies and whatnot, like, who's funding these studies? Who is funding, if you're looking at a website, who's that funded by? Like, who's writing these things? Because the way, fuck, I can't help myself, I go real deep. Hey, the way it's all connected when it comes to pharmaceuticals and everything like that, I think we're all pretty well versed in the fact that pharmaceuticals make money off of sick people. If a research paper that you're trusting the information from is funded by a pharmaceutical company, what is their intention going to be? Think about it. Pretty fucking simple. They want you to be a customer, and they want you to be a customer for life. So are they going to show you skewed data? That's possible. Are they going to show you data that didn't have a control group, or the control group maybe wasn't accurate? Like, these things all happen. So we just need to be more aware about these things, of where we're where we are researching the information we're trusting, and just question it. We cannot live in fear. But something got passed recently that really, a bill got passed, like, in Parliament, that really affects free speech and saying different things, which is why I'm now being hesitant with the words I'm saying, because any information we put out there online is never going to be our own information. It's for anyone to do anything with. However, I will just say, be curious with all information that is being influenced to you. This is the example I was going to give. I don't know about you guys, but I remember in school learning about World War One and World War Two, right? And learning about the propaganda, learning about how it was like posters were put up for a world tour. Like, so people were signing up, like 15-year-old boys who were not of age were lying about their age because they wanted to see the world. And what happened? Like, look at what happened. I know this is a huge, like, big example. However, that is a classic example of how the powers above use propaganda. And in that time, they didn't obviously have social media or internet, but they had newspapers and posters and radio and all these types of things to still spread news. And the propaganda that was then used to paint a beautiful picture of something, a world tour to see the world, as something that it simply was not. They knew it wasn't going to be like that, but they wanted to pull people in. So how did they do it? They made up a story that dragged people in. And I just urge you to like use that example as examples that the powers above are now using today with different programs or schemes for our health or for our well-being, you know, and how different language around these like marketing um these schemes, the language, like the power of psychology, biopsychology, we know these things of how seriously like they know what they're doing. The power of like fear, instilling fear into people to then make a decision. I'm talking about obviously 2019, 2020, like the fear mongering that was in that time to make people make a decision to create division between people and communities and friends and families. Like, I still know of people today who chose to not get vaccinated against their family's wishes, and their families still do not want anything to do with them. Like, that is deep segregation. And the ripple effects of segregation in families, like sent into family groups and communities, like is really quite damaging. Um, so that whole fear like based marketing um has a really negative spiral and a negative effect. And I think being more well versed in how biopsychology works and how propaganda and all those types of things work just makes you be a little bit more curious and fucking question stuff and stop believing shit. Like, my God, stop just taking everything as truth. Like, you have free will. You were born, it's your birthright. You have the freedom of choice, but are you actually utilizing it? Or are you just a slave to like the system and how are you just like so ingrained in this programming without even questioning it at all? Like, I think sometimes we can get stuck in like this tunnel vision kind of thing. But when you step back and zoom out a little bit and realize the stuff you're getting sucked into, um, it's quite deep. So, oh my gosh, I did not intend to talk about this, but here we are. This is why I should have had notes. I was going to have notes and I was like, nah, it'll be fine. But I've gone off a topic, I've gone on these tangents, and yeah, I think though it is all, they're all connected and it's all a part of a bigger picture. So it's important to talk about these things. And for me, it's a big thing about speaking up about my, this is the other thing. When we say like my beliefs, it sometimes tones down the literacy of what we are speaking about. And I realized this when I was editing the last episode of how if I say I believe that blah 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 blah, it like makes you think, oh, that's like her opinion. And sure, it's my opinion. However, a lot of my opinions are not just like random shit I pluck out of my brain. It's actually based on factual things and the way the world works and the way things are. And because it goes against the grain, and I have been met with like uh controversy, I guess, um it makes me want to soften the potency of what I want to say. So within this, I want to speak And that's why today I've come with probably a little more of a serious tone in what I'm saying rather than a I believe, blah, blah, blah. Because this isn't just like my belief, this is truth. And this is what is happening in the world. And more people need to be aware of it because it's affecting your health and it's affecting your future generation's health as well. Wow. Anyway, this is a huge topic that I didn't plan to get into. So thank you for bearing with me. I'm going to circle back to products, Low-Tox. What the hell? Um, so with the whole greenwashing thing, like I said, I thought I was using, growing up, thought I was using products that were natural. But now with the knowledge that I know, they were not natural. It was just the whole greenwashing effect, which, pardon me, is legal somehow. Like companies can label something as organic, but it's actually not, or label something as natural, but it's actually not, or even like color psychology, using colors like green or blue that are natural colors on something to make it look more like eco-friendly, or using logos or imagery in advertising that makes something look eco-friendly, makes something look natural, and it is not. So use your critical thinking skills, use your brain when you're seeing things. Question it. Just go to the fucking ingredients label and have a look at it. That's probably the easiest way to do it. So when you're looking on the ingredients label, there are two really big markers I want you to look out for, and they are the term fragrance and perfume, because these two terms are umbrella terms, and they legally can cover up to 100 different chemicals that are used in that product, but companies can get away with simply writing fragrance or perfume instead of writing the cocktail of chemicals that are actually used in that product. So look for those key things. And if it says either of those words, it's not natural. I wouldn't be going near it. I would not be using it on my body, in my body, whatever, in my home. Similar with things like parabens, sulfites, sulfates, all that sort of stuff. Um, as well as that, if something says like natural essence or natural flavor or natural color, like it's not natural. For a natural color to be a natural color, if you wanted like natural green, for example, like it's got to have fucking kale in it. Or do you know what I mean? Like something that's naturally green for it to actually be green. So they can take a derivative from a natural product, but then genetically modify it, do different things to it, and then they're able to legally say natural green color, whatever, natural apple flavor, for example. Um, Also, the other thing, there is some law with like actually natural products that in pharmaceuticals they cannot actually like they can't patent a natural thing, right? Like a banana, if you want banana flavored cough syrup, I don't know, that'd be fucked. But anyway, they want banana flavored cough syrup. Like natural products you cannot patent, you cannot make money off. So they are going to use things that are essentially going to make money. So the reason I talk about that is just so, again, you can just be a little bit more aware of like the other motives behind it. It's all just a bit of a money making scheme. Now, when it comes to like beauty products, trends, like supplements. Oh my gosh, the amount of like supplements and shit that were sold these days because of the rise in like fitness influencers and all that kind of stuff is such a crock of shit. Um, like protein water. Like, are you fucking serious? Eat some meat, get some protein in a way that protein is naturally found. If you're having to have protein water, like, what are you eating for breakfast? Probably some Biscoff overnight oats bullshit. Like, eat some minced meat, eat some eggs, eat some natural protein instead of finding it in these like unnatural alternatives. Like, I just feel like this is such common sense, but I have to remember, and sorry, probably be a little kinder in my delivery, that, yeah, unless you're like, I don't know, a bodybuilder or something, you've got a totally different purpose, you're on a totally different page, and my way of thinking is probably not for you right now, and that's all okay and perfect because you have your own intention, your own goals, doing what you're doing. However, if you're just a pretty regular person, or even if you're someone who still, you know, likes to train and trains like an athlete, essentially, like you still don't need to be having fucking protein water or even protein yogurt. Like, look at the ingredients in a good Greek yogurt. Like, for example, what's a good brand? Like Gelana. I don't know how to say it. Gelana, something like that. There's like they have the biodynamic organic yogurt or organic Greek yogurt or something like that. And that has very similar protein to like a YoPro or something like that. Or just a normal natural Greek yogurt has very similar protein to, again, a protein yogurt. So instead of choosing ones that just I've come into the conversation around food. I was meant to be talking about beauty products and cleaning products, but they're kind of all one and the same in some aspects of the natural, the additives, all that sort of stuff. So it's just about being more mindful of your general like additive intake, because they are essentially chemicals at the same time. Now, when we're talking about beauty products, if I think about when my skin was like at its worst, it was definitely between the ages of like 17 to 20, maybe 21. Yeah, I would say 17 to like 21. So that's a good 3 to 4 years of, it was definitely hormonal acne. It was all like around my chin basically. And I didn't know at the time. So I was like going through, I remember I loved like Love Roche, Posay skincare range and like Dr. Dennis peel things, and they were some of my faves. Um, oh my gosh, I remember as well that face scrub, the like apricot kernel St. Ives one or something like that. I used to love that in high school. The Body Shop, like how funny. Anyway, yeah, I didn't know at the time how much my diet was affecting my skin, how much the alcohol I was drinking was affecting my skin, my general lifestyle, all like, again, the products I was using at the time, obviously all these things contributed to it. And I remember like anytime my skin would like almost clear up, I'd be like, yeah, it's gonna clear up now. Like the next day something else would pop back up. And that perpetuating cycle, I know so many women and men are still like dealing with that. And if that is you, like, for example, I haven't used a face wash in the last like how old am I, 25? Literally in the last like 3, 4 years, I like just don't use face wash anymore. I use one or two products on my face. One of them I literally make myself out of oil, and the other one is from In Bloom, which is a really good natural brand. Um, and then the other thing I put on my face is like a zinc spray, which I put on my face because it's a good like toning mist, but also because your skin absorbs things very fast. And if I want to get zinc, I just spray it all over my face, like in my ears, up my nose, all the things, because the spray getting in those areas is really good for you as well. So anyway, that's literally all I use on my skin now, and it's all I've used in the last few years. And anytime my skin does have a sign of a breakout, it always is related back to my alcohol or sugar intake, if I've had a lot of alcohol or a lot of sugar or something like that. Um, so yeah, I also feel like in terms of, well, this is where I was going previously when I mentioned women who deal with like hormonal issues these days, and that vaccination that was around when we were in probably like grade 9. Um, and just that link, that correlation. I feel very lucky to have not really had too many issues when it comes to my cycle. Everything's always been very regular. I was on the pill for maybe a year or two, but I was never really consistent with it. I was bad at taking it. But anyway, I feel like almost a bit of an outlier in that regard, because I've had a pretty good run when it comes to my cycle. And I look at a lot of other girls who unfortunately haven't had that, or they're working on that now, and they're now doing things to get their cycle back and get those natural rhythms back. But I can't help but think this is not a coincidence that I haven't had any issues with that. And I also didn't get these vaccinations. I didn't get these other things that have essentially interfered with the body's homeostasis and the body's natural way of um, natural hormone release, the way that the body communicates with itself through hormones, through the bloodstream, through our thyroid. Like these natural ways of communication, I'm not saying it's definitely not perfect, and I'm still learning more and more. However, I can't help but think that is not a coincidence that I've had a pretty good run when it comes to that kind of thing. Um, Anyway, especially when it comes to, I think people who have skin problems per se, like eczema, psoriasis, dermatitis, acne, the number one treatment we're all told is, oh, it's skin. Let's put more shit on your skin. And it's not a skin issue. It's a gut issue. It's a food issue. It's a hormone issue. Like, it's never the skin. It's so much deeper than that. And I think if you ask anyone who has actually reversed any of those types of conditions naturally, no one that I know or have spoken to put it down to like using a product on their skin topically that has actually done the healing. There's definitely different skin products that can help and that support that journey, and definitely products that I use now that support, like I said, the 2-3 products I use on my skin that support my skin now, but I don't credit them for actually doing the healing. However, what I do credit for doing the healing is the removal of all the other shit and all the other products. It's the removal of the rest and the reduction of toxins in the environment. So when you're going through your home, if you look at, start with the things that you're using daily. The other big thing I would say is also your deodorant. You're putting that under your arm, and perfume. Sorry, these are the two big ones. Perfume and deodorant. You're putting these on such precious parts of your body, like your lymph nodes, which obviously is linked to your lymphatic system. And your lymphatic system, again, is your body's way of like detoxifying as well. And if your lymph nodes can't do their job because they're clogged up, because your skin is your biggest organ, not to mention the aluminium, which that's found in a lot of spray deodorants, that contributes to heavy metal content, which contributes to, again, most of the problems I've spoken about or other symptoms I've spoken about. Like, again, symptoms that are normalized, like bloating, brain fog, headaches, migraines, more chronic severe issues as well, but they're like the top layer symptoms, I guess. They're all connected to these types of things as well. So if you look at the things that you're using daily, which would be deodorant, toothpaste, as like personal hygiene, I guess, definitely take a look at your deodorant. I literally use the Grant's Crystal deodorant. That one I found to be really good. Another deodorant paste I've used is by Nelly, and she has, and I've recommended her brand to other people as well. She has a really good natural deodorant paste, and she hand makes them on the Sunshine Coast. I know there's like no pong and stuff, but I personally didn't really like those. I've just had that crystal stick for a while now, and that one works really well. So many people's like instant response to using a natural deodorant, like, oh, I don't want to smell like a hippie, or I don't want to smell. It's like, you don't actually smell. If you are having good food, you are not like you're not consuming an excessive amount of alcohol, you're eating good foods, your body's systems can do their natural detoxifying, you are literally not going to smell. How do you think, like, yeah, the reason people smell is because of their body is just out of whack because of the foods, because of the toxins. So if you know you smell, it's a deeper issue than just, it's not the deodorant that's really the problem. It's your body and what you're putting in your body, and it's just another clear sign that your body is struggling in some areas, and that can be cleaned up very easily with diet, lifestyle, and toxins, like removal of toxins and integrating low-tox products and way of life and way of living. Let's start with deodorant. Toothpaste, again. Oh, this is getting into like the fluoride discussion, which so many people think fluoride is good, and especially people in the dental industry and or who have that kind of influence around them or just grown up again believing fucking everything. Like fluoride is a known neurotoxin, is a known carcinogenic. Um, Fluoride in the right doses, like there was like this is the reason it got bought into toothpaste and got put into our water is because it prevents cavities in teeth. Um, there are a lot of other things that prevent cavities in teeth as well, without getting into this whole oral hygiene conversation. But um, yeah, you want a fluoride free toothpaste because there are so many links again from fluoride to things like Alzheimer's and dementia. Um, there's links to seeing fluoride in like a high fluoride dose in mothers during their pregnancy and the children or babies having high rates of things like ADHD and autism and these neurological challenges, these learning difficulties. Um, these again can be linked back to things like fluoridation. And I know these are sensitive topics because it's like, it's nothing is anyone's fault. It's just that you're not aware. So I say this all again, like, don't take this shit personally. It just is what it is. These are just the facts. It's up to you if you believe them or not, or you want to do your own research on it or not. But again, I don't say these things out of opinion. I say them out of factual information that is available to you on the internet if you wish to research further as well. So yeah, that's definitely something I would reduce is your, and again, that ties into the tap water. Like fluoride can be helpful, but only if I think it's iodine and your calcium levels are right in your body. And it's like 70% of Australians are iodine deficient and calcium deficient. So if these other minerals are imbalanced, your body actually can't even absorb the fluoride and do what it's supposed to do with the fluoride. So it's literally just building up this toxicity in your body if your calcium and iodine are off. Um, but they're not going to tell you that, are they? So anyway, choose a toothpaste without fluoride, and that's natural. Choose to drink spring water as well because you don't want the extra chemicals in tap water. Not to mention, tap water also has a bunch of other pollutants, also has found traces of like pharmaceuticals in them as well. Because think about if you're having a medication, if you're taking the pill, birth control, if you're on any prescription medication, you're going to toilet, you're peeing that out of your body. That is going into the waterways. It's all being recycled and put back into the tap water that you are now drinking. Don't want a bar of it. So drink fucking spring water or buy a high grade water filter. Not the jug ones. They don't remove fluoride. They don't remove chloride. You want one that actually does the job and removes those things, or just buy spring water because it's not going to have that issue. Not spring water in plastic bottles from the supermarket. If you're going to get it from the supermarket, get it in the goon sack, like cardboard boxes, or get spring water delivered to your home. Otherwise, the good water filters, you can get ones built in like under your tap, or there's also like a ceramic one. They're like $500. I can't remember. There's a couple brands of now, but there are other, I guess, good in-home filtration systems that actually do the job. Um, yeah, they're kind of the two main like daily need ones. Okay, let's talk about showering, body wash, shampoo, conditioner, razor blade, that kind of stuff. Again, just look at the products, look at if it has those fragrance or perfume, or if it's got parabens, sulfites, all those types of things. If they do, choose a different product. And again, I'm not saying do a whole overhaul. Once you have finished your current shampoo and conditioner, then the next time you buy it, choose a better option. Same with everything I'm speaking about. Razors as well is such a like seems so small, but like think about you like shaving your body, and then if they have the little hydro like hydrating bars in them that like you're just putting, that's all just shit. You're just putting it, your pores are so open, you're just putting that straight into your body, which is unnecessary. You don't need it. So just be mindful of that on razor blades. Um, Also, shower filters. That's another thing. If you're going to filter your drinking water, you need to filter your shower water as well. Um, They're a good shower filters you can even get off of Amazon as well. That again, we want to filter out that fluoride, the chloride, all that kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely some on Amazon. There's another one called Filtered Beauty, which I think is in Australia, based in Australia. But again, do your research, see what they actually take out of the water, and go from there. It's a very low cost. You can do it if you're renting. It's just a fitting that you put on like underneath the shower head, or if you have one of the detachable ones, you can. There is some that fit on the detachable ones as well. So there's definitely options for if you're renting or not, and they're definitely like the one I used to have at my rental was like $50. So yeah, they're definitely affordable when it comes to that, because your skin is your biggest organ. It's going to soak up everything. So that's another thing to look out for. Um, Now, when we talk, if we go into the whole beauty conversation, oh, perfume, I didn't even remember that. You're spraying it again on these parts of your body, your wrist, again here, where your body absorbs, is going straight into your lymph nodes. This is something to be really cautious of. In IVF clinics where they're dealing with obviously eggs and sperm and everything, they are not allowed to wear perfume or cologne in those clinics. If you think about that for a second, if that's banned because it's harmful to um, dealing with fertility things like eggs and sperm and whatnot, what is it doing to your body? Think about it. So, yeah, choose natural options, choose one that is um, use essential oils. I know that's one people can be a bit funny about because they want to have their signature scent or whatever. Like fucking get over it. Sorry, my health is more important than having a signature scent, and I'm very happy to smell like essential oils. um However, there are more low-tox perfume brands coming out. So if you are a perfume or cologne sort of person, there's even cologne balms that I've seen. I haven't even seen any perfume ones, but I've seen cologne balms. They seem to be really good. You don't have to smell like a fucking hippie. You can still smell cute, pretty, whatever. There's definitely options out there. So just be curious about that. Again, and like if perfume really is your thing and you want that, like, and you're using it once a month or whatever, like all good. It's like that 80-20 rule, but it's just, I think, important again to be mindful of these types of things. Um, More so, we want to focus on the products we're using on a daily basis. Now, when it comes to cleaning products, think about the things that you're using in your kitchen, in the washing your dishes and spraying the bench. You're then putting food on the bench. You're washing your dishes and the stuff that you're eating food off of. I don't want to be eating dishwashing liquid. I don't want to be eating Ajax spray and wipe, that's for sure. You're spraying it, it's going into your body, all the things. So again, just choose a product that you can get from health food stores. There's a good brand like Simply Clean, I think it is. There's the other brand Kin, which is a good brand. Yeah, I have again more resources, more in-depth stuff in the Glow method too. So there's whole lists in there of the brands that I recommend. But yeah, most health food stores will have pretty good options uh, when it comes to that kind of thing. Again, just those key ingredients as well. Um, the things you wash your clothes in and your bed sheets in, you're wearing your like we're dressing these 24/7, basically 24/7, and your bed sheets as well. You're wrapped in those at nighttime. So the stuff that you're washing them in, a lot of people think like these can all have irritants that irritate people's skin, that irritate their allergies. So it's just about connecting the dots and realizing, yeah, this is kind of everywhere. So again, just choose a not dishwashing, a washing liquid that is natural, like those brands I suggested, or from your health food store. I also used to literally just use bicarb soda and vinegar in the wash. Your clothes will not smell like vinegar, do not worry. Um, and that honestly works a treat. And I drop a couple drops of essential oil in it as well, and they come out perfectly fine. Um, so that is another option too. When it comes to cleaning in your bathroom, you can literally mix bicarb with vinegar to make a little paste, and that's like a little gumption kind of paste, and that gets mold off of, like scum, mold, all that stuff. That obviously mold I know, understand can be a lot bigger of an issue, but if you already have like a clean home, and you haven't got, like, if you have mold, that's a whole other conversation. However, it can do a really good job of getting rid of that scum, the mold, all that sort of stuff as well. And it's literally bicarb vinegar. So that's a really good option that you make into like a little paste. Just only add a dash of vinegar because you don't need much to make it into like a decent paste. Um, yeah, that's when it comes to cleaning. Now, I haven't even got into the conversation around pesticides and herbicides and what have you, because that goes into glyphosate, which is basically Roundup, which is weed killer. This comes into the conversation around agriculture as well, but Roundup is weed killer, which is a pretty common pesticide that people use potentially in their homes still. And glyphosate again is a known carcinogenic, a known neurotoxin, affects our endocrine system again, our body's hormones, the signaling that the hormones, essentially the way hormones are meant to be released in your body and the receptors they're meant to bind to, that whole process, the whole communication process can be disrupted very easily when it comes to these toxins, disabling our body's natural pathways and natural ways of communication. So that's a big one. There's a lot to say on glyphosate, but I'll just leave it at that for now. And then when it comes to makeup, I guess as well, um, yeah, just choosing clean beauty brands. The brand that I like that I've started to buy a little more of is, I think it's Inika or Inca, something like that, Inika or Inka. Um, Again, like makeup is another pretty expensive thing. So once a product runs out, just replace it with a better product. Um, and just, yeah, rethinking the way. And I guess once you start to alter all these things in your life, you will start to question why you're doing the things you're doing and why you're doing them, why you're so fixated on like certain brands, certain whatever. And you start to go, oh, it's actually not that bad. And I actually feel so much better without it. And the ripple effect from there. Now, the other reason I am super passionate about speaking about toxins and everything and our toxic load is because these are the questions that are not being asked by a lot of healthcare professionals, by a lot of specialists. Like the things that you are literally exposed to on a daily basis is not being addressed. And this forms part of the root cause of healing. If we're like, let's say you had a personal trainer, right? And you go to this personal trainer once a week in person, but you meant to have 4 other training sessions throughout the week and you've got an eating plan that you're supposed to stick to, or whatever. I'm just using a very generic example here, except you don't do any of the other stuff and you only do like the PT session. You just simply don't do the rest of it. And then you're wondering why you're not getting the results. It's because everything you're doing in your own time is not helping you towards that goal, right? I hope that sort of paints a pretty simple picture of how the things that we do on a daily basis connect back to the reality of our health. Oh, that's the other thing. Fragrances, perfumes, reed diffusers, all that fucking crap. They're one of the worst things. And I get you want your home to smell like burnt cinnamon, Christmas fucking crack. Like, just, I just can't. I try and be compassionate with this. However, when you understand that these are the things that are driving the imbalances in your body and you experience ill health, then you will do what you need to do to remove these things. So I trust that this is landing with the right audience who are ready to take the action to remove these things from their life in pursuit of their health. Knowing you can still experience a beautiful candle with a beeswax candle. Knowing you can still experience beautiful smells through diffusers using high grade essential oils, which I use Young Living oils. The doTERRA brand is also quite good, and there are some other brands you can get from health food stores. But again, make sure you're checking where you're doing your research if you're just buying other brands. Do not trust Kmart essential oils. do not trust ones from the cheap shop. If you're buying incense, make sure it's a good one. There are so many other ways you can make your home smell good. Please choose one thing at a time. Just let this be education and awareness. Let this spark something in you to maybe then do your own research to find out more, and then just change one thing at a time. Yeah, it's important. It connects to our health on a deeper level. It interferes with our bodies, with our endocrine system, our hormones, and disrupts. Like, these are known hormone disruptors. So we just need to make sure that we are doing the right thing. And I trust that even if one person listens to this and make a change and you tell someone else about it, that it will have a ripple effect in the end and contribute to the betterment of your health as well. This is one of the big pillars in everything I do in the Glow method, is Low-Tox and integrating ways you can have a low-tox environment. I haven't even gotten into the discussion of food and organic and stuff, but like pesticides, herbicides, things that are sprayed on our foods, we're ingesting those as well, and that's why buying organic is really important. Or you can look up the Dirty Dozen Clean 15. That one gives you a good description of generally the fruits and vegetables that are most sprayed versus the ones that are least sprayed or have thicker skin, so are more, I guess, resistant to sprays and herbicides, pesticides, because these things all add up and they all contribute to our health. So yeah, if you are buying normal fruits and vegetables as well, there are some good eco fruit and veg washes you can get. Oh yeah, Koala Eco, that's the other brand I forgot to mention. Yeah. I didn't want to talk too much about food in this episode. However, I have dabbled in a little bit. Thank you so much for listening. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to chuck me a message. If you enjoyed this episode, give it a 5-star rating on Spotify. Share it with someone who you think may also benefit from learning about this information. That's everything for this time. I'll see you guys in the next episode.